I bought the lake property for one reason: peace. No neighbors close enough to complain, no street noise, just water, trees, and a narrow wooden bridge that crossed a small inlet to my cabin. The bridge wasn't fancy, treated lumber, steel supports, but it had been there for over 30 years. It was the only access point to my land unless you wanted to hike 2 miles through dense woods. When I bought the property, the seller handed me a thick folder: deeds, surveys, water rights, dam access agreements dating back to the 1970s. He told me, "Oh, most people don't read these. You should." I did. 6 months after I moved in, construction started across the lake. A luxury resort, glass balconies, boat docks, advertised as a $4 lakeside retreat experience. The land belonged to a newly formed host that managed a cluster of vacation homes feeding into the resort. At first, they ignored me. Then the letters started. "Your bridge is not HOA approved. Your structure violates community safety standards. You must submit to inspection." I responded once politely with copies of my deed and a note stating I was not part of their HOA. They didn't like that. One morning, I woke up to the sound of engines, excavators, chainsaws, shouting. I ran down toward the lake and froze. My bridge, my only access, was being torn apart. I demanded to know who authorized it. A woman in a blazer holding a clipboard told me the HOA had declared it an unpermitted hazard and ordered immediate removal. I told her she was trespassing. She smiled and said, sue us." By sunset, the bridge was gone, reduced to splintered boards stacked like trash. I called the county. They said the HOA claimed emergency authority. I called a lawyer. He asked a single question: "Do you still have the original water and access rights?" I told him yes. There was a pause. Then he said, "Don't rebuild the bridge. Let me look at something." For the next 2 weeks, resort guests arrived by the hundreds: kayaks, paddleboards, wedding photos on the docks. The HOA board bragged online about record bookings. Meanwhile, I read, the lake wasn't natural. No, it was fed by a controlled dam upstream, one built decades ago to regulate seasonal flooding. The resort's lake frontage, docks, and aesthetic appeal all depended on that water level. And buried deep in those old documents was a clause no one else had noticed. The dam access, maintenance, and control rights belonged to my property. The HOA didn't own the water. They owned the view, as long as I allowed it. I didn't act out of anger. I acted out of patience. My lawyer sent the HOA a formal notice outlining unlawful destruction of private property and demanding immediate compensation and restoration of access. They ignored it. Instead, they sent another letter threatening fines if I attempted to rebuild it without approval. That was their mistake. We filed notice with the county that I would be performing routine water level maintenance per my dam access rights. Entirely legal, entirely documented. No drama, no threats, no threats. Just paperwork. Early one morning, I drove to the dam. It wasn't some massive concrete wall, just a reinforced spillway with adjustable gates. I unlocked it using the same key the previous owner had given me. I opened the gate slightly. That's all it took. Over the next 48 hours, the lake dropped slowly but steadily. Enough that docks tilted, enough that boats scraped mud, enough that the infinity water views vanished. Guests complained. Weddings were canceled. Social media filled with photos of exposed shoreline and stranded kayaks. By day 3, the resort had to shut down water activities. By day 5, the HOA was calling nonstop. They accused me of sabotage. I responded with copies of the deed, water rights, and maintenance clause. Then I sent photos of my destroyed bridge. The county stepped in. Inspections followed. Turns out the resort's docks extended into areas they weren't permitted to use. Turns out they'd skipped environmental impact approvals. Turns out draining the lake revealed violations no one could hide underwater. The HOA board panicked. They offered to rebuild the bridge. I declined. I asked for compensation, legal fees, and written acknowledgement of my property rights. They refused, so I opened the gate a little more. Within a week, the lake resort was a mud-ringed basin. No reflections, no docks, no luxury appeal. Bookings evaporated. Investors pulled out. Finally, the HOA agreed to mediation. The settlement included full compensation for the bridge, permanent access easement, written apology, legal acknowledgement that I was not subject to HOA authority, and a clause preventing them from interfering with my property again after everything was signed. I closed the dam. The lake slowly returned. But the resort never recovered its reputation. As for my bridge, I rebuilt it stronger, higher, and with a sign at the entrance, a private property, access maintained by deed. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't loud. It's knowing the paperwork better than the people who thought they owned you. If you want I Can Next,